Here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, as well as 6abc.com. We look to be heading live to Lincoln Financial Field to talk to our friend Adam Malamut, a Malamut Law and Oh, there he is right there at Lincoln Financial Field. Oh, it's set up, and it's looking like a great time there on the field. Adam, go ahead. Adam, go ahead. Set the scene for us, please. What's the energy like right there on the field?
Hey, Seth, Mark, Derek, it's great seeing you guys. It's outrageous. Look, we've got Philadelphia's best fans in the house. Come on, it doesn't get any better than this. Look at this.
Saturday night. City of Philadelphia, baby. Back open up the can and whoop it.
Listen, we got the best fans in the world, and Seth, as you know from playing here, they can be rough at sometimes, but they're absolutely the 12th man on the field.
Now, let me ask you this just real quick. When you look at this setup here for the Eagles, now you were out there, maybe a little warm-ups, right? Maybe the guys trying to get a little back into shape after the week off. They work the kinks out a little bit. What'd you notice during warm-ups?
So AJ was running the field. I mean, he was running it like an Olympic sprinter. He came out fast, started hitting laps around the field. Devontae Smith's warming up. Our guys are ready to go. I have not seen Jalen Hurts yet. I imagine that he's still warming up in the back. I haven't seen Lane Johnson yet, but the rest of the team is out here pumped.
Hey, Adam, what is the parking lot atmosphere like? I know you had to walk around the parking lot before you got in the stadium.
So it's interesting. I've never seen the parking lots this packed. I've been a season ticket holder and suite holder down here for many years. The number of people that are just down here hanging out and tailgating, who probably aren't even coming to the game, is more than I've ever seen. Philadelphia fans are pumped. They know that each week is our Super Bowl right now.
Hey, Adam, you know that we got the best fans in the world, anywhere. What has it been like as you've been walking around? I know that, John, earlier we had him on. He was talking about Philadelphia drinking responsible. A 8:15 game, a playoff game on a Saturday night. Take us into what in the world the atmosphere is like at the Linc, because I know, and I saw somewhere where they kind of finagled a way to get into the parking lot like 4 hours before the parking lot even opened.
You know I'm a trial lawyer. My job's to protect people's bad habits and identities. Yeah, I mean, what kind of guy would I be if I gave up, it's almost like Las Vegas rules. What happens if the Linc stays at the Linc? Listen, people are partying. I'm sure that there will be some people that will be irresponsible, but, that's in any stadium.
Well,
our fans are passionate. They're much kinder than people outside of Philadelphia give them credit for, and they're pumped for this game.
Listen, we just don't want the legend of Philly to grow any more than it's already grown in perpetuity. So give me your keys to the game, Adam.
Well, listen, Seth, you can appreciate this. The Eagles have not paid a lot of attention to their linebackers over the past several years, and probably going back to Ray Rhodes. We've got to stop Daniel Jones. We've got to frustrate him early. I would say we've got to, we would hope they'd shoot themselves in the leg, but I think they've done that once already. So, if we can get out there and we can stop them early and we can frustrate Daniel Jones, our offense is high-powered. Penalties are going to be key. We saw with Gardner Minshew, the offensive line was really sinking. Here, we've got our folks back. Jordan Mailata is an absolute beast. If I was scripting the game plan, I'd run Miles Sanders behind that guy. I mean, you can run anything behind that guy, and they're not. Let our offensive linemen go to work and start beating down the defensive lines.
Adam, I have to ask you this question because I'm going to direct this subject after we talk to you here about the Philadelphia Eagles fans. You guys were lied to this week. Lied to by Wink Martindale. I don't know if you heard what he had to say about Boston Scott. He was asked about Boston Scott and his success against the Giants defense, including against Wink Martindale back in week 17 it was. Last week of the season now, week 18. When you think about Boston Scott, he's got 7 career touchdowns against this team. What do you think about him not being a Giants killer like Wink Martindale denied earlier in the week?
Mark, I'm sorry, I lost the very end of that.
Oh, well, it's pretty rowdy there at Lincoln Financial Field, so I'm sure you did. But Wink Martindale said that Boston Scott is not a Giant killer. What do you make of that?
Listen, I wouldn't underestimate any of these guys. This team has a level of energy that I quite frankly, I haven't seen since the 2017 playoff run, the Super Bowl 52 playoff run. Boston Scott is an energetic guy. Don't judge the guy by his size. I'll tell you, the guy's thighs are immense. That guy can move a pile even at his height. Our team all the way around is a well-rounded team. We've got a great defense. We've got a great dynamic offense. And if these guys just play like they did for 13 of the 14 games that they started the season, we're going to be in great shape.
I love it, Adam. That was some great reporting from Linc. Go ahead and assess this. You're the veteran reporter.
No, you know what? I give him an A+ for on-the-field reporting. All right. Hey, I got to ask you this.
That's a big grade coming from you, so I appreciate it. I'll take it.
I got to ask you this before you go. Where exactly will you be watching the game from? What's your vantage point tonight?
You're looking at it, Derek. I'm a Club 52 holder, so I sit right. In fact, I'm walking to my seats right now. I'm literally right behind the goalpost.
What?
So this is my seat right here.
Oh, that is.
Oh, come on. Oh, my goodness.
Have you ever tried to wrestle a football away from Mike Trout? Just asking.
Actually, he's on the other side. I'm a big Trout fan, so I'm not sure I would try to wrestle anything away from that guy. He's a big dude.
Very nice.
I mean, he's not Seth, but he's pretty big.
Yeah, my money's still on Seth in that battle. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it and all your support here.
Thanks,
of JAKIB Media. Adam Malamut joining us there of Malamut Law. Appreciate you on Linc Finance. I mean, that's not.
Appreciate you guys.
Seth, I think you're the only one to have a better seat, and you were in the games.
Listen, I never got a chance to play at Lincoln Financial Field, so I wouldn't know what that's like.
Yeah, you were playing on concrete back then.
Hey, listen, I loved my vet. I don't care what anybody say. I would love to have the opportunity to play in the Linc, but I love every single game I had at the vet. Loved it.
That's absolutely incredible. All right. I understand that coaches are always going to try to put their players, and they always say it, in the best position. But leading up to those games, if you're a defensive coordinator, you're a head coach, whatever, coordinator, whatever you might be, you're going to try to say things that support your team. But it's not an opinion as to whether or not Boston Scott is a giant killer. 9 touchdowns, 7 games against the Giants in his career. That's pretty good. Those are pretty good numbers. He has the Giants' number. It's as simple as that. When he sees that giant blue, he runs all over the place.
What do you expect? What do you expect a defensive coordinator to say?
He's a talented player. What everybody
says.
What everybody says.
No. This is psychological warfare.
Okay.
You're not going to give that guy any more credit than you have to. You know what? He went on to say, you know what? What Boston Scott did predates my arrival here. Well, oh, by the way, he did score 1 touchdown against your defense,
Exactly.
But that's 1 compared to the other 9. But he said exactly what I expected a defensive coordinator to say, didn't he, Seth?
Well, listen, as a coach, that's what he has to say.
Yes.
But I'll tell you this. If you think that there's anything valid in what Wink Martindale had to do, go to that window over there and ask for the sheet on the money line, okay, for Boston Scott to score a touchdown. And
anytime touchdown,
and maybe even 40-plus yards rushing. And see what kind of odds you get. I bet you they ain't that good.
Okay, all right. But I'm just saying, how many times do we hear leading up to a week, if a player's even not that good, you'll still hear the defensive coordinator, the head coach, whoever it might be, say, oh, well, they're a talented player, they work really hard, and they're going to be a focus for us this week. They give us that coach speak every week. Why not just acknowledge the fact that Boston Scott has had his way with this New York Giants team?
Not going to do it.
All right, well,
not gonna do it.
I guess I'll settle for something else then. But one of the things we've covered this rivalry, of course, many times before, but one of the most interesting things about this rivalry is they have had games lopsided in both favors in recent years. Whether or not you want to go back to that, what has unfortunately become known as the Winston Justice game, where you had a guy like Donovan McNabb go down time and time again. What was it, 12 sacks in one game at the Meadowlands? Well, the last time around that this team faced, and it was the 48-point game I'm talking about, the 48-22 Eagles victory. Brandon Graham came up with 3 sacks in that game. Gunner, you know him well, obviously. We never know when the last game's going to be played by an athlete for a certain team, but when looking at Brandon Graham, how much do you think he'd love another performance like that tonight?
Oh, there's no question about it. He understands the business element of this. He has said time and time again on our show, Sports Take, with Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis, and myself, You know, he understands that the clock is ticking against him. Father Time is slowly closing in on him. He's made it very clear he wants to finish his career as a Philadelphia Eagle, and that means to me he's willing to take a discount to stay here to close out his career. He's made his money. He gave this team a discount before when he signed a couple of contracts before. He could have gone to the Giants, and he didn't. He stayed here. The Giants offered him a little bit more money. He decided to stay here. The fact that he's playing less snaps than he normally plays, I believe it was around 35%, you're seeing a much fresher Brandon Graham in the fourth quarter. He's like a kid in a candy store. Every game to him he knows could be his last game in his, Eagles uniform, and every game from this point on is his Super Bowl.
It's really incredible what you've watched him do over the course of his career, and to focus again on Brandon Graham. I have never seen an athlete, and you've been at this game a little bit further, more than I have. Yeah. I've never seen an athlete, after that loss against the Saints, the amazing moment between you and him in the tunnel there, I've never seen an athlete back at the NovaCare complex hugging and thanking media members. Now, let's not forget the first 3 years of Brandon Graham's career here in Philadelphia, where he was labeled, an unfortunate term, bust. And you know who called Brandon Graham? You know who was included in that? Brandon Graham was included in calling himself a bust. He was standing there at the door, Seth, greeting media members, hugging them, handshaking, thanking them for their coverage of him and his career and their fairness of doing so. When you look at a potential last game or maybe your last playoff run with a certain team, what goes on in a player's mind like that, Seth?
I don't think it really hits you until you're off the field, until the reality of that moment actually settles in. Listen, I think that, when you think about Brandon Graham and all he went through and all he's overcome, you got to be happy for the guy because he was under tremendous pressure. And under normal circumstances, any normal guy might have folded under that pressure, of everyone talking about him being a bust. But Brandon just kept working, kept doing and kept getting better and, turned things around. And I think it's hard to, when you think about, players that played in Philadelphia and what they'll mean down the road, it'll be hard for very many other players to supersede Brandon Graham, especially when you consider, the Super Bowl and what big of a play he made during the Super Bowl and things of that nature. And how he just, sometimes, you get a little bitter about things. And one thing I got to give him credit for, he never got bitter about anything. As a matter of fact, he took a negative and turned it into a positive for himself and became one of the most beloved players, one of the most beloved players in Philadelphia sports history.
What you're hearing, other than fine analysis from you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm distracted. I got all these TVs around me here on my Microsoft Surface Pro, and I mean, it's just this game is so riveting that it's hard for me to maintain my focus.
It's the crowd here at Ocean Casino Gallery Bar Book of Games reacting to the Jaguars-Chiefs game. Chiefs up right now, 27-17.
They need to stop now. He just fumbled.
Just fumbled.
See that? He's breaking down the Eagles-Giants while also knowing what's going on in the game going on right now. It's a wrap. The guy just knows ball. The guy just knows ball, Seth Joyner. Of course he does. All right, now looking at Eagles-Giants, of course. The other side of this is that two of the coordinators, both coordinators, are actually up for the same job. Both are up for head coaching jobs. I will say, along the lines of what Wink Martindale says and what do you expect a guy to say, I thought both Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon handled the questions about potential head coaching jobs around the league the perfect way. When they were asked about it, how do you balance interviews along with facing the New York Giants, how do you do it? And they both responded with the same thing, which does make me think they had a conversation before the press conferences, and they said, how do I handle New York Giants? The New York Giants. It's all they wanted to talk about, all they wanted to concentrate on, and rightfully so. But you got to think, even if it is a bye week, even if you do have to travel away, even if it is a divisional opponent that you've beat twice, it still has to be rattling around in your brain a little bit during this game that you could help your own coaching stock with a good performance by either side of the football. For Jonathan Gannon with this defense and this offense with Shane Steichen.
You think about those thoughts during the week leading up to the game, in the locker room before the game. When the bright lights go up, you can't allow yourself to think about stuff like that because that's where you make a mistake. in terms of strategizing and moving the chess pieces. You know, these guys have been preparing for this moment a long time. You know, they've talked to other coaches on how you handle those situations. They know what questions to be expected of them and how they're supposed to answer when they go into these interviews. Sure, it's swirling in the mind. Human nature does take over, but not during that 60-minute battle when you have to be on point, because if you're not, one glaring mistake could cost you.
I will say this. I think in order to be an effective coach on any level, you have to figure out how to compartmentalize things. Everything that you've done so far in your career has led you to this point of you with the opportunity and the possibility of being a head coach. It's hard not to think about that. But you're still drawing a check as an employee of the Philadelphia Eagles throughout this process, and you still got unfinished business, and you got players that are relying on you as a defensive or offensive coordinator, you know, to make sure that you're giving them your all. I think that these guys can do it. You know, when you take that 5 or 6 hour window where you have to go and do the actual interview, you know, you do what you got to do within that time frame. But when it's time for you to refocus and compartmentalize, you know, your thinking and your focus and what you have to do and your commitment to your players, then, you know, you refocus, you do it. I mean, it comes with the territory.
Before we hit this break, I do want to let people know that when we look at the inactives that did come out a little while ago, Avonte Maddox inactive, Anthony Harris inactive, of course, Trey Sermon again inactive, but up and ready to go. We'll see how much he's ready to go, how close to 100% Lane Johnson is active today as expected. When we return, we're going to check back in with the electricity there at Lincoln Financial Field at the tailgate scene with our friend Joe Messa, who's got, wow, he really pulls out all the stops. We'll be back in a minute here with the JAKIB Media pregame show as well as